Gomer Pyle, USMC, which aired from 1964 to 1969, remains one of the most iconic sitcoms of its era, known for its heartwarming humor and unforgettable characters. But after 61 years, what happened to the talented cast? As we approach 2025, it's fascinating to revisit their lives and careers, from continued success in Hollywood to surprising career changes, personal struggles, and unexpected journeys. In this article, we'll dive into where the cast is now, reflecting on their post-Gomer Pyle legacies, and uncovering stories of triumphs, challenges, and everything in between over the past 6 decades. Jim Nabors took on the role of Private Gomer Pyle in 1964 at the age of 34, portraying the lovable, naive Marine whose simple honesty often frustrated his superiors but charmed audiences. Though widely adored, Nabors struggled with being typecast, as Hollywood refused to see him as anything beyond his slow-witted, good-natured character. Outside of acting, he found moderate success as a singer, but his true battle was personal. He was forced to keep his sexuality a secret for most of his life, fearing it would end his career. Though he eventually married his longtime partner, Stan Cadwallader, in 2013, decades of isolation had already taken a toll. His health declined sharply in the 1990s due to hepatitis B, requiring a liver transplant, which left him weak for the rest of his life. By his final years, he had retreated from public life entirely, his once powerful singing voice reduced to a whisper. He passed away on November 30, 2017, at the age of 87, alone in his Honolulu home, his legacy living on through reruns of a role that defined and confined him.
So I figured maybe start fresh, at up-and-coming town in Oregon. It's supposed to be real nice.
Well, it's real nice here in California, too. Hey, I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Gomer Pyle.
Oh, Harper Cobb.
Ronnie Schell joined Gomer Pyle, USMC, in 1964 at the age of 33 as Duke, Gomer's sharp-witted and streetwise best friend. His comedic talents were undeniable, yet despite his popularity, he never broke into mainstream stardom, spending most of his career in supporting television roles, stand-up comedy, and voice acting. Unlike many of his co-stars, he never experienced a dramatic downfall, but he also never reached great heights, gradually fading from Hollywood's memory. His personal life remained a mystery, with no known marriage or children, leading to speculation that he spent much of his later years in solitude. As of 2025, at the age of 93, he remains out of the public eye, his name remembered only by dedicated fans of classic television, while the industry that once embraced him has long since moved on.
State police asked the Marines to cooperate in setting up all these roadblocks. It's all part of a big trap.
Some trap. Stuck out here in the boondocks, we got a better chance of trapping a gopher.
Frank Sutton first appeared as Sergeant Vince Carter in 1964 at the age of 41, embodying the loud, tough Marine drill instructor whose gruff nature masked a reluctant fondness for Gomer. While his performance was celebrated, Sutton grew frustrated with the industry's unwillingness to offer him more complex roles, forever trapped in the shadow of his character. Though he remained married to his wife, Toby Igler, his struggles with professional dissatisfaction weighed on him, leading to mood swings and periods of deep frustration. Despite these struggles, he continued working in television and theater, hoping to redefine his career. Tragically, just as he was preparing for a stage performance in Louisiana, he suffered a massive heart attack on June 28, 1974. At only 50 years old, he collapsed backstage and died almost instantly, leaving his dreams of a broader career unrealized and his family reeling from the sudden loss.
Want to listen? Remember?
Yes, Sergeant.
Well, now I happen to have a little extra time. I'm ready to hear your excuse for taking the test and failing. Let's hear it.
Roy Stewart played Corporal Boyle in 1965 at the age of 38. Boyle was an enthusiastic, well-meaning Marine who found himself caught between the strict Sergeant Carter and the naive Gomer Pyle. Though Roy's portrayal of Boyle garnered him some recognition, his personal life was filled with hardship. After Gomer Pyle ended, Roy's career failed to take off, and he struggled to find meaningful roles. His marriage ended in a painful divorce, and he had no children, leaving him to face his later years alone. Financial difficulties and the pressures of aging took a toll on him, and he spent much of his later life in relative obscurity. In his final years, Roy battled cancer, and despite his struggles, he passed away on December 25, 2005, at the age of 78. A somber end to a life that never quite matched the upbeat character he portrayed on screen.
What was that?
It sounded like thunder.
You sure? You sure there isn't artillery practice today?
No.
Forrest Compton played Colonel Edward Gray starting in 1964 at the age of 39. Colonel Gray was the tough but fair commanding officer, bringing a sense of order to the chaos of the Marine base. Forrest's professional life was marked by respect, but his personal life was a different story. His marriage to actress June Carter was tumultuous, filled with constant separations and emotional distance. Though they had 2 children, their relationship fell apart, leaving Forrest to deal with a broken family. His struggles extended beyond his marriage, facing financial difficulties and health problems as he aged. These challenges weighed on him, and Forrest passed away on April 4, 2020, at the age of 94, from complications related to COVID-19. His final years were marked by the silent battles he fought, overshadowed by the personal turmoil he never seemed to overcome.
Back and line up all the platoons on either side of the doorway leading up to the steam table, which we could decorate with bunting and everything.
Yes. How do the rest of you feel about that?
Excuse me.
Ted Bessell portrayed Frankie in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1965 at the age of 30, bringing to life a mischievous yet charming Marine whose playful antics provided much-needed comic relief to the show. While his role on the series was beloved, Bessell's post-Gomer Pyle career was marred by a series of setbacks. Although he worked steadily in television, including directing episodes of The Tracy Ullman Show, he never achieved the same level of recognition or success. His personal life was similarly turbulent. His first marriage to Linnell Nobori ended in divorce, and his second marriage, while lasting, was overshadowed by Bessell's professional disappointments. Struggling with unfulfilled dreams, his health began to decline, and he passed away on October 6, 1996, at 61, from an aortic aneurysm. His death marked the tragic end of a career that never reached its potential, leaving behind a legacy of unfulfilled promise.
What'd you do with the ring?
Got it right here. Oh, no.
No, it's gone.
Barbara Stewart began playing Bunny in 1964 at the age of 34. Bunny was a fun, charismatic character, often seen providing lighthearted moments in the show, with her charm and quick wit. However, Barbara's life off-screen was anything but light. She married Roy Stewart, her co-star, but their marriage ended in a bitter divorce. Despite her talent and popularity, Barbara faced many emotional difficulties and struggled with depression throughout much of her life. Her second marriage also ended in divorce, and Barbara found herself battling financial troubles and a sense of unfulfillment in her personal life. Though she remained a beloved figure on screen, her life was clouded by loneliness and despair. Barbara passed away on May 15, 2011, at 81, her final years overshadowed by the personal difficulties that never seemed to ease, despite the outwardly successful career she had built.
Town, but nothing was stolen.
Now you've got it.
These are donations for a charity bazaar, and he borrowed the car to deliver them.
Alan Melvin, who played the tough but humorous Sergeant Charlie Hacker in Gomer Pyle, USMC, began his role in 1965 at the age of 42. While his portrayal of the commanding officer was memorable, Melvin's career was plagued by missed opportunities and underappreciation. Despite voicing iconic characters like Magilla Gorilla and appearing in popular shows like The Brady Bunch, he never achieved leading man status. His marriage to Amalia Melvin, though enduring, had its own struggles, and the couple never had children. Melvin's career was overshadowed by others, and as the years went on, he found himself more and more in the background of Hollywood. His health eventually deteriorated due to cancer, and on January 17, 2008, he passed away at the age of 84. Melvin's life ended quietly, his legacy largely forgotten by the public, a testament to the difficult nature of show business where talent often goes unrecognized until it's too late.
Just thinking fast on my feet, Hacker.
That's all.
Elizabeth McCrae played Luann Povey in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1966 at the age of 30. Luann was Gomer's sweet, supportive girlfriend, known for her Southern charm and kindness. Elizabeth's portrayal of Luann gave viewers a glimpse into a life full of warmth, but her real-life story was far more complicated. Elizabeth was married twice, but both marriages ended in turmoil. Her first marriage ended in a bitter divorce, and the second, though filled with hope at first, was strained by emotional struggles. Despite having 2 children, Elizabeth found it difficult to maintain family harmony, and her personal life was overshadowed by loneliness and sadness. Her career after Gomer Pyle never reached the same heights, and she faced financial hardship, eventually falling into depression. She passed away on May 27, 2024, at the age of 88, from complications related to heart failure and long-term depression, with few family members at her side during her final moments.
Hello? Gomer? Well, where are you?
It was the darndest thing. This here corporal who's new on the...
William Christopher took on the role of Lester Hummel in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1965 at the age of 33. Playing a gentle and empathetic Marine whose loyalty to his fellow soldiers made him a beloved character. However, Christopher's life was far from easy. His role as Father Mulcahy in MASH Asterisk brought him greater recognition, but his career was often a struggle for steady work, and he found himself taking roles out of necessity rather than passion. His personal life, too, was fraught with challenges, particularly with the diagnosis of autism in his son. Christopher and his wife, Barbara O'Connor, devoted themselves to caring for their son, and this emotional and financial burden weighed heavily on the family. Despite the love he had for his family and his screen roles, Christopher's final years were marked by health struggles, and he succumbed to cancer on December 31, 2016, at the age of 84. His death marked the end of a quiet career overshadowed by the personal sacrifices he made for his family.
I pick up my pass, then I borrow Frisbee's car. I know this drive-in that's just crawling with wild-looking chicks.
Really? What makes you so sure any of them will talk to you?
Larry Hovis began portraying the character Larry in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1964 at the age of 28. Larry, a fellow Marine, often found himself in comical situations alongside Gomer. Though he brought humor to the role, Larry's own life was far from funny. After the show, Hovis struggled to find steady work and saw his acting career stall. His personal life was just as difficult, marked by 2 failed marriages. The emotional toll of his divorces and a long battle with health issues, including a diagnosis of esophageal cancer, weighed heavily on him. Hovis's cancer spread aggressively, leaving him little time to seek treatment. His health deteriorated rapidly, and he passed away on September 9, 2003, at the age of 67, with his final years largely marked by isolation and the devastating effects of his illness. His death went largely unnoticed by the public, adding to the tragedy of his life, filled with unfulfilled potential.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Heads. Tails.
Tails. Tails.
Buck Young, who played Sergeant Whipple on Gomer Pyle, USMC starting in 1964 at the age of 43, was known for his stern, disciplined portrayal of the military figure, often at odds with Gomer's carefree nature. However, Buck's personal life was far more tumultuous than the rigid character he portrayed. His first marriage ended in painful divorce, and his second marriage faced difficulties due to his wife's health problems, which strained their relationship further. As his acting career began to wane after Gomer Pyle, Buck struggled to find meaningful roles, and his personal finances took a serious hit. His declining health, worsened by a series of strokes and heart disease, left him increasingly isolated. In his final years, he faced the bleak reality of living alone, with few close friends or family to support him. Buck passed away on February 4, 2000, at the age of 78, due to complications from his health issues.
Hey, Vince, I meant to ask you. How's your problem, child?
Huh?
Gomer Pyle.
What do you mean, how is he? He's a knucklehead.
Allison McCabe portrayed the Waitress, beginning her role in 1965 at the age of 29. The Waitress was a kind, welcoming figure who often served the Marines at the local diner, offering moments of warmth amidst the chaos. However, Allison's real life was far from the easygoing nature of her character. Despite her charm on screen, her personal life was marked by deep unhappiness. Her marriage to a fellow actor ended in divorce after several years of infidelity and emotional strain. Although they had a child together, the relationship was tumultuous, and she was forced to raise her child largely on her own. Allison struggled with her career after Gomer Pyle ended, as the roles that came her way were few and far between, leaving her financially unstable. The emotional toll of her failed marriage, coupled with the lack of meaningful work, led to deep depression. Now, at 88, she lives in relative seclusion, having never found the peace or stability that once seemed possible in her youth.
Archie, can I have my check, please, ma'am?
Oh, sure.
I want to go out there and see if I can help.
Okay. Bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes.
Mark Slade took on the role of Eddie in 1964 at the age of 25. Eddie was a young, eager Marine, brimming with enthusiasm and energy, bringing a sense of youthful optimism to the Gomer Pyle series. However, Mark's life off-screen could not have been further from the bright and hopeful character he portrayed. Despite initial success in his acting career, Mark faced severe personal struggles that would haunt him for much of his life. His early marriages crumbled under the pressure of his emotional distance and his battle with depression, leaving him with no children to carry on his legacy. He was left dealing with loneliness and the pang of unfulfilled dreams, unable to secure any lasting happiness in his relationships. While his career offered brief moments of light, his personal life was a constant darkness. Now, at 85 years old, Mark Slade lives quietly, having faced more than his share of personal tragedies.
Morning, Gomer. Better start getting your gear squared away.
Tom Hatten played Captain Murdoch in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1964 at the age of 38, bringing to life a commanding officer with an air of authority that shaped his role. Hatton's career had its fair share of struggles, with many of his roles overshadowed by the bigger stars of his era. He was a versatile actor, but he never quite broke through to the top tier of Hollywood. His personal life mirrored his career. He married twice, but neither relationship was particularly fulfilling. His first marriage ended in divorce, and although his second wife, Arlene, stood by him, they too faced struggles in a seemingly stagnant union. Hatton's financial situation also faced many ups and downs, as he was often in and out of work. Yet his most painful trial came in the form of his battle with mental health, which became a public secret when he was found to be battling depression, likely exacerbated by his struggles in Hollywood. Tragically, Tom Hatten passed away on March 16, 2019, at the age of 92, his death attributed to natural causes.
I don't know.
What's the matter with it?
Well, I don't know, Gomer. Daddy might get to gloating over it and spreading it around. Next thing,
Ken Lynch portrayed the FBI man in Gomer Pyle, USMC, starting in 1965 at age 55, playing a serious, no-nonsense character who brought an air of authority and seriousness to his scenes. Lynch's career, however, was marked by a lifetime of struggle for recognition, as he often found himself typecast in roles that offered little beyond his stern persona. While his performances in Gomer Pyle and other series were well executed, they were often relegated to secondary roles, leaving him out of the spotlight and uncelebrated. His personal life was equally turbulent, having faced the hardships of an unstable marriage and dealing with the personal grief of losing a child early in life. His health began to deteriorate in the late 1980s, and Lynch struggled financially as his career slowed and his prospects dwindled. Despite his contributions to television, he passed away quietly on February 13, 1990, at the age of 79.
You better put up your hands, too.
I'm Johnson, Criminal Investigation Department. My identification's in my pocket.
Yes, sir, that very well might be the case.
Herby Fay, who played Harry, began his role in 1966 at the age of 67. Harry was a humorous and endearing character, known for his sharp wit and charm, often bringing lighthearted moments to the show. Despite his comedic on-screen persona, Herby's life off-screen was filled with emotional struggles. His career, which included a variety of roles in TV and film, never reached the heights he hoped for, leading to bouts of frustration and a sense of unfulfilled potential. Herby's personal life was equally troubled, having experienced a difficult marriage that ended in divorce, and his relationships with his children became strained over time. In his later years, he became more reclusive, facing declining health and heart issues. He passed away on June 28, 1980, at the age of 81 due to heart failure. Herby's death was a tragic end to a life that had once promised much more, overshadowed by personal loss and the solitude that marked his final years.
Look, I don't have the $11. I got 6.
Sorry. Come back when you get the rest. It'll be here.
But I gotta have it today.
You gotta have it.
Paul Bryar, who played the bartender, began his role in 1966 at the age of 56. The bartender was a friendly, approachable character, offering a listening ear to the Marines at the local bar, providing much-needed moments of solace amid the chaos of military life. However, Paul's own life was far less serene. His acting career, though steady, was never as successful as he had hoped, and his personal life suffered as a result. Paul had a troubled marriage, which ended in divorce, and he struggled with feelings of loneliness and isolation in his later years. Though he had children, his relationships with them were strained, and his career never fully materialized into the success he desired. As his health deteriorated, Paul's life became increasingly difficult. He passed away on August 30, 1985, at the age of 75. His death marked the end of a life that had been filled with quiet suffering, with his final years overshadowed by the burdens of emotional pain and a sense of missed opportunities.
Good. Get the show.
Typical of the Marines at Camp Henderson is this.
See, we missed the opening.
Class Gomer Pyle.
Peter Hansen, who portrayed Lieutenant Colonel Van Pelt, began his role in 1964 at the age of 43. Van Pelt was a strict, no-nonsense officer, always enforcing military rules with a commanding presence. Though his role was vital in maintaining order on the show, Peter's own life was far from orderly. He had a troubled personal life, with 2 failed marriages and strained relationships with his children. Despite his solid career in television, Peter often felt overshadowed by his more prominent co-stars, and his roles after Gomer Pyle did not bring the success he had hoped for. His professional disappointment, combined with the emotional strain of family issues, contributed to his sense of isolation in his later years. Peter died on April 9, 2017, at the age of 95, having lived out his final years with little recognition and marked by the quiet regrets of a long and tumultuous life. His passing was a poignant reminder of a career that never fully matched his early potential, leaving behind a legacy of stern authority both on screen and off.
From boot camp. Oh, Stu, brother.
She'll write to you any day now. You'll see.
When already? It's 2 weeks and nothing. A palada, Stu, brother.
Joey, you.
John Lupton, who portrayed the dependable and authoritative Captain Edwards in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1964 at the age of 36, was a skilled actor whose military roles suited his strong, reliable demeanor. Captain Edwards was often the voice of reason and order, a stark contrast to the antics of the main characters. Unfortunately, in real life, Lupton's personal journey was much less orderly. His marriage to actress Jean was marred by infidelity and constant emotional strain, ultimately leading to their painful divorce. After their separation, Lupton's relationship with their son Timothy became strained, and the challenges of raising a child with health problems weighed heavily on him. Lupton's career, once full of promise, began to falter in the 1970s as his personal demons took hold, including struggles with alcohol that affected both his professional and personal life. He faced financial hardship and ultimately died alone on November 3, 1993, at the age of 65.
Deserving it. He just left it and ran off.
What?
That's right, sir. He said he didn't work hard enough last week.
You kidding me?
No, sir.
Herb Vigran, who played the waiter on Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1966 at the age of 56, was a skilled character actor, often cast in comedic roles where he brought charm and warmth to the screen. The waiter, with his ever-present smile and amiable nature, was a beloved minor character, adding levity to the series. However, Vigran's life off-screen was marked by personal turmoil. His first marriage ended in a painful divorce after years of struggle, and his second marriage was short-lived, tragically ending with the death of his wife from an illness that left him heartbroken. His personal grief affected his career, as he increasingly found himself sidelined in the industry. Later years brought more challenges, including financial difficulties and deteriorating health, and Vigran lived much of his final years in seclusion. Despite the setbacks, he remained a man of resilience until his death on November 29, 1986, at the age of 76.
It's just scissors.
Why don't you stop complaining? You know you got me up an hour before Reveille for this haircut.
Come on, I ain't got much time.
Jackie Joseph, who portrayed the lively Marilyn in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1965 at the age of 32, was a talented and energetic actress, beloved for her glamorous presence. Marilyn's character added a touch of allure and excitement to the show, but Joseph's off-screen life was filled with sorrow and loss. Her first marriage was a brief and troubled one, ending in divorce. Her second marriage was even more tragic, as her husband passed away suddenly, leaving her devastated. The pain deepened when her son, Stephen, died in a tragic car accident in the 1990s, leaving her emotionally shattered and unable to cope with the loss. Joseph withdrew from the public eye, grappling with the deep grief that consumed her. While she still worked occasionally in small roles, her career never reached the heights many had expected. Now 91 years old in 2025, Joseph lives in relative obscurity, burdened by the weight of her personal tragedies.
Yeah, it's real nice.
I use it all the time. It's called Marvie.
How do I...
Arthur Battenites played the role of Bronson in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1965 at the age of 42. Bronson was a tough, no-nonsense Marine, often seen in action-packed scenes, where his resilience and physical strength were his defining traits. Although his portrayal of Bronson on the screen seemed full of confidence, Arthur struggled in his personal life. His first marriage was full of emotional turmoil, and despite having 2 children, the marriage ended in a bitter and heart-wrenching divorce. Arthur found solace in his second marriage, but that too began to deteriorate as his professional career took a turn for the worse. Work became scarce, and financial problems added to the strain on his relationship. Eventually, the stresses of his personal and professional life led Arthur into depression. Despite his career in film and television, he died in relative obscurity, isolated and alone. Arthur passed away on January 10, 2000, at the age of 76, due to complications from heart disease.
Hey, fella. Say, how about a little service?
Sure thing. Fill her up.
No, we've got plenty of gas, but the engine's been acting up. Would you mind taking a look at it, please?
Alan Dexter, who began his role as the second sergeant on Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1964 at the age of 46, portrayed a stern, disciplined character who constantly upheld the rules and regulations of military life. However, the reality of Alan's life after the show was far from disciplined. His career hit a significant slump after Gomer Pyle, leaving him with few acting opportunities. As his professional life faltered, Alan's personal life grew more chaotic. He faced significant financial troubles, and his marriage, which initially seemed strong, crumbled under the weight of these pressures. His wife, who had been his emotional anchor, could no longer bear the stress, leading to a painful divorce that left Alan emotionally shattered. His health, which had once been robust, rapidly declined as he struggled with depression and loneliness. After years of battling his inner demons, Alan passed away on December 19, 1983, at the age of 65, from a heart attack.
Talking about guys freezing. Remember that stunt Iron Pants Milliken pulled back at 53?
The force marched in.
Yvonne Lime, who portrayed Corporal Peters in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1964 at the age of 29, brought to life a dedicated and efficient Marine, admired for her professionalism and work ethic. After her time on the show, she married twice, and both unions ended in painful divorces, each leaving emotional scars. Her first marriage was to a fellow actor, but it dissolved after years of neglect and emotional distance. Her second marriage was short-lived, plagued by misunderstandings and a lack of mutual support. Despite being a mother of 2 children, her family life was marked by constant instability. Her career, which once held promise, dwindled in the wake of personal heartbreak. Yvonne faced years of isolation as acting opportunities became sparse and her mental health deteriorated. As of 2025, she is 89 years old, still living a reclusive life, far removed from the bright spotlight she once shared with her Gomer Pyle colleagues.
No, ma'am. But I'm meeting Sergeant Marshall after work, and it's just a few minutes before 17:30.
Those few minutes belong to this office.
Ray Kellogg, who portrayed the bank guard on Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1964 at the age of 45, initially made a strong impression with his stern demeanor, though his role was minor. After the show's end, Ray's career failed to thrive as he struggled with being typecast in similar roles, and Hollywood soon moved on without him. His professional setbacks mirrored his personal life, where he endured a difficult marriage that ultimately ended in divorce. The strain of financial difficulties and a series of failed relationships left him isolated in his later years. His health began to deteriorate, and he spent much of his time in solitude. Ray's tragic decline culminated in his death from heart complications on September 26, 1981, at the age of 61, leaving behind a life that had promised more but was ultimately overshadowed by personal and professional misfortunes.
Sergeant was talking about it could make the difference, and he's got it.
Bless his heart.
Touch gloves and come out fighting.
Sid Melton, who began his role as Friendly Freddy on Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1966 at the age of 49, was known for his comedic charm and lighthearted presence. However, after the show, his career floundered as the roles dried up, and he struggled to recapture the success of his earlier years. Sid's personal life was far from joyful. He faced 2 divorces and battled alcoholism, which further complicated his relationships and career. His health began to fail in his later years, and he suffered a series of strokes that left him physically debilitated. Despite his financial struggles and the loneliness he faced, Sid found solace in his love for comedy and continued to perform, albeit in smaller venues. His death on November 3, 2011, at the age of 94 was a quiet and painful end to a life filled with both laughter and personal struggles. His legacy remains intertwined with his personal demons, leaving a bittersweet remembrance of a man who brought joy to others but couldn't escape his own sorrow.
What's your name, son?
PFC Pyle, Gomer Pyle.
My name's Freddie. Friendly Freddie, the serviceman's pal. And let me tell you something, Lyle. Pyle. And all my...
Roger Till took on the role of the maitre d' in Gomer Pyle in 1965 at the age of 56. As the sophisticated and courteous character, he added an element of charm and decorum to the show. In contrast, his real-life story is one marked by loneliness and hardship. After Gomer Pyle, his acting career saw few major opportunities, and he struggled financially in his later years. His personal life was equally turbulent, as his marriage to Margaret ended in divorce, and their 2 children, Andrew and Lily, were left with strained connections to their father. Roger often faced bouts of isolation, grappling with regrets over missed career opportunities and personal failures. He spent his final years in relative solitude, the public success he had achieved long gone. Roger passed away on June 28, 2002, at the age of 93, succumbing to complications related to old age.
That view, Eileen's, that's something?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Would you care for cocktails before dinner?
Well, I'd like to have...
Look, as a matter of fact, we're all very hungry and we don't have a lot of...
Candace Howard, who played the girl on Gomer Pyle, began her role in 1965 at the age of 16. Her character was youthful and full of energy, bringing a sense of lightness to the show. However, after the series ended, Candace's life spiraled into darker territories. She faced a series of personal challenges, including struggles with substance abuse that began in her early 20s. Her marriage to Charles, which seemed promising at first, crumbled under the weight of her addiction, leading to a painful divorce. Candace had 2 children, Jason and Michelle, but her chaotic lifestyle strained her relationships with them. By the time she was in her 30s, her career had stalled, and she became increasingly isolated. Now at 75, Candace remains largely out of the public eye, battling the demons of her past. Though she occasionally speaks to her children, the legacy of Gomer Pyle seems to be a bittersweet reminder of what could have been.
I ain't got a ticket.
Oh, don't worry about that. You're here because of a mishap. The airline won't charge you for the flight.
Well, that's nice, but what about coming back?
I'm afraid you'll have to pay for that.
John Considine, who portrayed the captain in Gomer Pyle, USMC starting in 1965 at the age of 30, embodied a strong, authoritative leader who commanded respect and maintained order within the military setting. His character was a no-nonsense officer, a model of discipline. Yet, the man behind the uniform led a life that was filled with personal tragedies. His first marriage ended in a painful divorce after years of emotional turmoil and unresolved conflicts. Seeking solace, he remarried, but tragedy struck again when his second wife passed away from a prolonged illness, leaving Considine to struggle with grief and loneliness. His career also suffered during this time, as his personal pain affected his professional life. Considine had a strained relationship with his only child, which further fueled his sorrow. By 2025, at 90 years old, Considine lives a life marked by solitude and reflection, having been withdrawn from the public eye for decades.
I'm Sergeant Carter, and this here is Gomer Pyle. I thought you might like to meet him.
Well, so you're Gomer Pyle. You're the fella that's been so patient all this week.
Brendan Boone, who took on the role of the sailor in Gomer Pyle, USMC in 1965 at the age of 27, portrayed a spirited and adventurous character, often adding a sense of youthful energy to the show. The sailor was known for his carefree attitude and playful nature, a sharp contrast to the more serious figures around him. However, Boone's personal life was anything but carefree. After his initial rise to fame, his life took a downward spiral due to substance abuse, leading to the end of his first marriage. His second marriage, although initially filled with promise, also crumbled under the weight of his addiction. Boone's struggles continued throughout his life, and he faded from the spotlight. By 2025, at 87 years old, he remains reclusive, living alone, and largely forgotten by the world he once seemed poised to conquer.
This is it? This is the whole thing?
Yeah, just make yourself at home. I hope none of you have claustrophobia.
What's claustrophobia?
That's when you're...
Who is your favorite character from Gomer Pyle, USMC? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.